Thorn used to be one of the most hated exotic weapons in all of Destiny's multiplayer. The hand cannon was so detestable that people felt offended whenever they were killed by it, complaining that it was a noob's weapon that took no real skill to use. They would send you hate messages, rant about it on the forums, and even use the weapon itself to stoop to the level of its offenders. Bungie's Hellspawn that was the Thorn was unarguably the most obnoxious weapon to ever plague the fronts of competitive multiplayer. But I couldn't help but think that this obnoxious quality was what made it so enjoyable to use in the first place. During the 5 months when Thorn was in its prime, the time when everyone used the weapon to their sadistic pleasure, I too derived profound enjoyment from the poison effects and inevitable slow and humiliating deaths that would follow. The widespread abuse of the Thorn brought to mind a broader question regarding the nature of online competition. Do multiplayer video games unknowingly cause people to lose touch with their more compassionate sides? In other words, do they diffuse empathy to where people become indifferent to the pain experienced by their virtual opponents? Multiplayer video games practically dominate the market right now. Halo, Battlefield, Call of Duty, Titanfall, Destiny, and Overwatch are among the most popular and widely recognizable of the bunch. To answer the question of whether these types of games decrease empathy and increase indifference, I inquired as to why they're so popular and how they could affect perceptions of human emotions beyond just the immaterial game world. I arrived at a couple of interesting conclusions. First, multiplayer video games have gained traction as both an entertainment medium and as a way of relieving stress because they satisfy a primitive urge to compete against and weed out the weaker members of our own species. They appeal to man's darker qualities such as greed, selfishness, and aggression. If you're unfamiliar with skill-based matchmaking, the idea is that if you adjust matchmaking parameters enough so that weak players get matched up against other weak players, and the strong against the strong, you appeal to a more generalized audience of casual players and thus sell more copies of your game. From a business standpoint, this makes sense. However, SBMM is actually counterintuitive to the principles of intra-species competition, since the strong will always prey on the weak. In evolutionary terms, this is comparable to killing a weaker member of your own hunting tribe just so you can eat that extra piece of meat and stay alive yourself. It's an intrinsically motivated act of selfishness. Another explanation for why people are so drawn to multiplayer video games as an outlet for aggression is that, plain and simple, they don't have to worry about the consequences of murdering people in cold blood. Think of it this way: when you defeat an opponent in a multiplayer match, to you they are nothing more than an avatar stripped of virtually all human qualities. They're a cheeky and elusive moving target, or a bundle of pixels generated by your television screen. They're a virtual punching bag that you can slam on, beat, stab, humiliate, demean, and degrade to your heart's content, and all without a single consequence to bear. Who wouldn't take a sick pleasure in that? Yet when we give it a second thought, we start to realize that in control of that avatar, that cheeky moving target, that bundle of pixels, is a real person. A living entity with thoughts, feelings, goals, memories, dreams, aspirations, and heartbreaks. Have you ever considered that beyond all of that bloodshed and mass chaos in Battlefield's conquest mode, someone is feeling a little hurt, even if they're thousands of miles away from you? By now, you probably think this video is a glorified criticism of multiplayer video games. It's far from it. Personally, I've invested hundreds of hours into Halo Reach, Destiny, and the Modern Warfare series. I have no qualm with these games because I love them. At the same time, I do have a few regrets about how I've treated my opponents over the years. I've teabagged, viciously wailed on corpses, and shouted vile obscenities over the microphone. Even today, I display these behaviors out of compulsion but not intent. Nonetheless, I'm making this video to attest to how our treatment of strangers over the internet, despite the anonymity, still matters and that we should practice better sportsmanship. Just because they live halfway across the world doesn't mean they deserve to be treated any differently from you or me. And so, coming back to the question of whether multiplayer video games decrease empathy and increase indifference, the answer is yes, they do. But only if our behavior is left unrestrained. We can easily lose touch with our compassion, but we also have to remember that we can activate it when it's needed. I think I'll just stick to RPGs. Guys, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like and subscribe to show your support, as I have many great, ambitious projects that I plan on pushing out in the foreseeable future. Also, if you haven't checked out my in-depth review of Halo 5, the link for it will be in the description. Thank you once again for sticking around. This has been Mark, signing out.